is a Halloween story that I tell almost every year. And I kind of took it out and dusted it off a little bit. So, as you know, I love Halloween. I grew up in an overpopulated Irish Catholic family, and I mentioned that we were Irish because Irish people are notorious for having horrible teeth. And it's true. We were very, very Irish. We went to the dentist one day, and my brother had 13 cavities in one tooth. Oh. How is that even possible? You know, I don't even know why, like, you would find out, like, 13 cavities. Like, after 11, wouldn't you stop, counting and just say, pull that fucking tooth out? It's like counting the holes in the sinking ship. Like, who cares? Where's it going to get you, right? So anyway, my mom, we inherited our sweet tooth from our mom. She had such a serious sweet tooth. I'm not exactly sure which tooth it was, but I'm pretty sure it was not one of the teeth that were plopped into the glass water of water on the side of her bed at night. Yeah, very creepy. You know, I could have saved that $50 and have just left my mom's teeth out on the front yard to scare the kids this Halloween. Seriously, it's what nightmares were made of when you see these teeth floating around in the water. It's like, ah! So, my mom's dead now, but I wish I had asked for her teeth in the will. That's horrible. The thing is, she always accused us of wanting to have her teeth. I'm not kidding. She'd say things like, if she lost something and she was angry, she'd go, nothing's sacred anymore. You kids would take the teeth right out of my head. And we'd be like, no, we don't want those. But now I do. So anyway, even though her teeth were rotting out of her head, not all of them, just a few of them, she apparently still had that one sweet tooth intact, in place, because she could not stay away from candy at all. She would go crazy for Neckos. Remember those Necco wafers? Yeah, horrible. Those were horrible candies, right? The only good thing about Neckos was that you got to play priest, right? Body of Christ. How was it? She loved the Neckos. She loved the Good and Plenty. She loved the black licorice. So, and she was still in pretty good shape because she would work out to Jack LaLanne, and she would eat her AIDS candy. Yeah, remember AIDS candy? Unfortunately, came into popularity around the same time that AIDS was killing a huge population of our community. So that was bad branding, but who could have known? Anyway, they were appetite suppressants if you didn't know about them, and they would start off tasting really yummy and delicious, and then they ended with like this chalky feeling, like, ugh! So it left you not wanting to eat anything after you ate an AIDS candy. So we definitely inherited our sweet tooth from my mom, and we started planning for Halloween as early as Memorial Day, because this was like, a high holy day. And most of my sisters would go as hobos, rubbing leftover charcoal from the summer barbecue on their faces and raiding my dad's, work clothes to look like hobos. Yes, my dad dressed like a hobo, apparently. He was an electrician, and he prided himself in being able to wear whatever he wanted to. In fact, he would stand in front of my mom with these ripped-up T-shirts on in the summertime. They had huge holes underneath his armpits, and he'd go, "Hey, Joan, air conditioning." Thought it was so funny. Right, my dad was hot. I know, between my dad's T-shirts and my mom's missing teeth, it sounds like I was like... Anyhow, they were decent people. Irish. They just didn't care about those things. Hey, teaching moment. Does anyone know what the word hobo means? Hobo? Homeward bound. There you go. Now you learned something. But hobos were ugly. Who would want to be a hobo for Halloween when you could be a princess, which is what I was every single year. I would be a princess wearing one of my mom's lacy slips and a tiara made out of cardboard and tin foil. And it was, very fancy. And besides, it wasn't really about the costume on Halloween. It was all about the candy. Although this plan never sat well with our neighbor, Mrs. Massai, she was like the candy Nazi, speaking of Nazi. She thought it was her job to judge costumes. Like she was like some kind of fucking Simon Cowell or something, with a Jersey accent and a perpetual cigarette hanging from her fingers. I'd go over to her and she'd be like, "Maureen, don't come over here with your mom's pajamas on and some twisted Reynolds wrap, because you're not getting a piece of candy from me at all." Total buzz chat. So my sister Maggie would save me. She was like this artist, and she'd steal my mom's makeup bag, and she would fix me up with large circles of, makeup on my cheeks and eyeliner tipped all the way to my hairline, And so I looked a little bit like a Chinese doll, and black mascara and pink lipstick, and in the mirror I looked like a little painted Chinese doll, heavy on the paint. But the thing about my mom's slip was that it was always too long, and I would have to tie it up, and eventually slips do what they do. It would slip down, and it would trip me up, and I would fall, and it would happen every year, and my makeup would get all smeared, and I'd try to keep it up with my sisters, and I'd have blood, like real blood, and my sisters would just tell me, like, don't worry, just wipe it off, because it's Halloween, and it's supposed to look bloody anyhow. So at most stores, people were normal, right? And they would just hand over the candy, which is what you're supposed to do at Halloween, people. But at some houses, they'd actually expect you to do a fucking trick. Like, really? No! Not okay. Don't do that. Or explain your costume, which is almost even worse. So, it happened, when this happened, my hobo sisters would just scream boo and run, because they didn't want to be wasting time on Halloween. You had one night, right? So, unless the candy looked really good, and in that case, we would take the time to go through the polite, banter with the candy dispensers. So, I remember at one house, they came out and they were a little drunk, and they looked at me and they said, "Oh, look at Little Bride of Frankenstein." And I was like, "No, I am not a Bride of Frankenstein." And they were like, "But you look so spooky." And I said, "I'm a princess." And slowly I watched their fake expressions of fear turn into genuine sadness. And I tried to play it cool, but I wanted the candy, so I would jump through a few hoops. This other house, this old man came up and he opened the door and he said, "What are you?" And I didn't answer because I just held out my pillowcase. I wasn't really there for conversation. I was trying to get it done. So I didn't answer. He said, he's like, "Well, you look like a streetwalker." He confirmed it with a bob of his head to sum me up. And I was like, "I am not a streetwalker," whatever that is. I had heard my mother tell my sisters that they looked like streetwalkers whenever they tried to leave the house in tube tops, So I'm sure it wasn't really good. And his wife came to the door and she was like, "Honey, she's not a streetwalker." And she paused to look at me. Her face sort of bended and swayed. And she tried to narrow in on me. And she was like, "What are you, baby? A clown bride?" It's like, no, I'm not a baby, and I'm not a fucking clown bride, which isn't even a thing. That's not a costume, a clown bride. I just took a breath and I explained, "I'm a princess." At which her and her husband burst into laughter. I shook my head in pity and gathered my ragged slip, and I tried to catch up with my sisters because I didn't have time to hang around with these fools and get abused for a fucking Tootsie Roll. We weren't the only game in town. Fucking Halloween, man! When the last porch light goes dim, we all go home, our bodies spent and buzzed on a full diet of sugar. Our mom waits at the door to hand over our bags. Even though we know it's coming, the sight of her standing there, gathering up the take, comes as such a shock. And I slowly walk as slowly as possible while shoving large amounts of candy into my mouth and pockets. "Can't we just keep some of it?" we beg, with our mouths full of half-chewed candy bars. "You'll rot your teeth out of your head," she barks at us, and having the proof to back her up, we hand it over. And then she dumps all of the candy out on the table to sort them out. And this is heartbreaking, to see all of my hard work melting together in this big pot. But this is how it goes. This is how it's done. After all the sorting, she begins to count all the Hershey bars and all the lollipops and so on. And when she has a tally, she reaches for the phone with the extra long extension cord, and she calls her friends to give them the update. Like, this is our Halloween tradition. 300 Snickers, 265 Mound Bars, 140 licorice sticks, and 45 mini Necco rolls. She could have have all those fucking Necco rolls. The counting interrupted only by squeals of, how do you like that? And for crying out loud. We're all staring at the mountain of brightly lit treats and that's covering our dining room table, and after a while she looks up at us and covers her mouthpiece. It's late, get to bed, and don't forget to brush your teeth. Back into the phone, she's cackling again. Oh, they left here like a bat out of hell, and they wouldn't be back until the tech cows came home. We head to our bedroom, spent and still sucking the remnants of jelly beans and hard candy from our molars. It seems a shame to brush away the only candy we have left, so I'm gonna not skip that. It's no wonder our teeth are rotting out of our heads. In the morning, the mountain is gone, and we look, and we know it's locked away in the basement in the old freezer with a padlock on it. And if we're good, I did survive. I did okay. And if we're good, she'll dole out little treats from us from the freezer. But no one gets the Neccos or the black licorice. And who wants them? She waves us off to school victorious from the doorstep. Her smugness does not last long. Before the end of the week, there's been a break-in. Some anonymous hobo has taken the lock right off the freezer with one of the tools from my dad's workroom. And once the freezer is no longer an option, Mom takes to hiding the loot around the house. And she's pretty good at first, but she's no match for 8 sugar addicts. We follow her for clues of candy wrappers in her pockets and smears of chocolate on her lips. And it's those loose lips that eventually sink her ship. She has the unfortunate habit of talking to herself. She can carry on long, detailed conversations all by herself while folding laundry or burning dinner. And this particular time, she's in the bathroom, working herself up into a happy congratulations of her job well done. Ha ha! I got him this time, she laughs. Those kids will never find the candy. Who's going to look in the old garbage in the basement? How do you like that? She asks no one in particular. But my sister Erin is patiently waiting outside in the hallway, and she only has one answer that she whispers to my mom's question. I like it very much. With winged feet and a lusty leap, Erin makes her way to the basement, and it doesn't take her long to find the sugary treasure, and even less time to put a major dent in it. By nightfall, she begins to feel sick or guilty or both, and she invites Barbara and Joni to join her. And by the light of the morning, all that's left is a few loose candy corns and some root beer barrels. And even my mom, who has the worst tasting candy, will snub her nose at a root beer barrel. When the crime is discovered, you can hear our wails for blocks. You ate all of our candy? The news leaves us white as ghosts, with our mouths hanging open in shock, the idea too big to digest. And Erin and her cohorts giggling in the corner, joyfully rehashing the whole thing. You were the one who told us, Mom! You were the one who spilled the beans! At the head of the table, clutching the empty pillowcases, her mother sits in shock. She sways her head gently back and forth, repeating the same question over and over. It's gone? It's all gone? I feel bad for myself, but my heart breaks for my mom. It isn't just the loss of the candy and having these hoodlums giggling at her, but this is a definite turning point. She's been outsmarted. They've turned on her, disregarded her wrath, and she is losing control. And far worse than all that is the fact that she'll have to go on quenching her lust for sweets on those damn AIDS candies. I watched the nightmare unfold, the unjustness of it salted with my greedy sister's laughter. I would gladly trade a few rotten teeth for those rotten apples that stand in the corner celebrating their cleverness. And I know my mom is right. Nothing is sacred anymore.